Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top. Tana de Menashe is Shechakaklo Ben Karneha, a goat that they pierced its horns and they put the halter and they attached it through the holes in the horns. Yaitze ba'avser b'Shabbos. Then it can go out with the avser on Shabbos. The way Rashi explains it is, that is the way it can go out. Not with the regular tying of the halter around the neck of the animal, because since the goat has a narrow head, they can easily slip out from the halter. So this is the way that it will stay intact. I'm not afraid that it will fall and will come to carry it. So it's davka, if it's hakala ben karneh, yoytze b'avser b'Shabbos. Boy Rav Yosef takla b'zakanama. What about if it was attached to the beard, to the goat's beard? He tied it around the beard. He made like a ring through the hairs, and he made a ring and he tied it through in that way. Now, what's the din? If it'll try to struggle and to get free from it, it'll pull at the beard and it'll hurt. So therefore, we're not afraid it'll do that. So it won't come to do it. Or perhaps sometimes it won't. You can't fasten it that tightly, and it won't be secured that tightly, and it'll come and fall, and it'll come to carry it. We got Teku, not resolved. We learned in the Mishnah on Daf Nun Dal that the parag, the cow, cannot go out with the ritzua, with the ropes that are between its horns. That is considered to be something which is only adorning the animal. It's a noi for the animal, and that is not mutter. It's only mutter if the animal has something that it's for its protection, so that the owner can restrain it and it won't run wild. But this is only noi, so that's why it's awesome. Amr of Yerabava Pligi Barav Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel argued on this point. Chad Amr Ben Lenoi Ben L'Shamar also. One says whether it was done for noi, for adornment, they dyed it a nice color, a red color, and it's there to adorn the animal, or whether it's there to hold on to, it's still awesome. Because it's not the norm. Normally, that's not the way you lead the cow. Normally, it's led without a halter, and it's done by leading it along without using that. So that's considered to be excessive. So is it when we say it's also only if he's using it for noi, it's for like an adornment, and therefore it's also because it doesn't serve to protect the animal, or even if perhaps this person is using it in a manner to use it for shimur and slishamer, it's also awesome because it's considered excessive. So one says bein lenoi bein l'shamer is also v'chad amar lenoi also, but l'shamer mutter. But the other one said no. If he is using it, doing it l'shamer, then it would be mutter. Amar of Yosef this time, the Shmuel who the amar lenoi also l'shamer mutter. It's mustaber to say that Shmuel is the one that said it's only also if it's for noi, but if it's l'shamer, it would be mutter. Why the Amar of Huna Barchia, Amar Shmuel halacha k'Chananya? Because Shmuel said the halacha is like Chananya, which we learned previously that Chananya said that Nitirusa Yisera, even though it's excessive, but since it's still serving the purpose of Shimur, it's mutter. And Shmuel said, it's like Hananya. So therefore, Shmuel must be the one that said that if it's L'shamer, even though it's extra, it's excessive, it's mutter. Amr le Abaya, Adaram, opposite. This time, the Shmuel, who damar bein lenoi bein l'shamer aser. It's mistaber to say that Shmuel is the one that said that they're both aser. The Amar of Yehuda Mar Shmuel machlif nifnei Rebbe shel zu bezu mau. They switched around in the Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that a gamel goes with an avser v'naka b'chaitim. So they asked the Shaila in the reverse, if it was a gamel b'chaitim and a naka b'afsar, what would be the din? Amar lefana Rav Shmuel Rav Yosi. Rav Shmuel Rav Yosi said in front of him, he said, Kach Amar Abba, Daled Behemas Yaitzas Ba'afser. There are 4 animals that can go out with the afser. Hasus, the sus, the horse, V'aperet, V'agamal, V'achamor. So it says, Davka, these 4, the horse, the mule, the camel, and the donkey, Lav Lemute, Gamal B'chaitem. Is the point of it not to say that these 4 go out with an afser? A gamal goes out with an afser. Is that not to say that a gamal cannot go out with a chaitim? That a gamal cannot go out with a chaitim because it's excessive. So you see, and that Shmuel is reporting this, so it must be that he holds that Tirusa Yisera, if it's excessive, it's also that it's Davka these four, and a Gamal is one of the four that can go out with an Afsar, but not with a Chaitim. So don't you see that if it's Tirusa Yisera, it's also, so it seems to be that there's a machlokes, really, what Shmuel held. Because Shmuel said halachas like Hananya, and Shmuel is reporting this over here in the name of Shmuel Rav Yossi in front of Rabbi. So it seems to be that they're arguing really what it is that Shmuel said and what he held. Al Kol Panim, Himbai says that since he said this, that Shmuel said that this is reported in front of Rabbi, that Dafka, therefore, a Gamal could go with an Afsar, but not with a Chaitim. The Rishonim are struggle with this because we learned in the previous Amud, we learned that that's what Rishmal Rav Yossi said, but Rabbi Lemaisa was doicha the raya. He was doicha that diuk. So the end of the Maisa was that Rabbi was doicha. So what is the raya that we're trying to bring if in this Maisa itself, and as Taisus works out and it says that the Pasha Pshat is that Shmuel reported the entire Maisa, including Rebbe's Dechiyah. So if at the end of the Maisa, Rebbe's Dechiyah, the Raya, so what are we trying to prove from here? And some of the Rishonim say that, yes, Rebbe was Dechiyah, but it was a Dechiyah Ba'alma. I mean, it wasn't conclusive, but Pashtus is that that's what the Diyuk is for, to teach you a Gamal with an Afsar, but not with a Chaitim. Al Kol Panim, we seem to have two versions of what Shmuel held. More answers, Sameha Mekameha. We have to eliminate, remove the first memra that Shmuel said the halachas like Hananya on account of this latter one, which seems to be that he holds halachas not like Hananya. And therefore, at this point, the Gemara is therefore saying that Shmuel holds that it would be Osir, Lenoi would be Osir. That Lenoi would be Osir, and even the Shamer would be Osir. Well, why reverse this one, the first one? Rather say reverse the latter one. Because because we find that Shmuel, in fact, is the one that says that L'shamar is mutter, which would be like Hananya. Because Rav Chia, the Itmar Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Rav, Ben L'shamar also. So Rav Chia Barash said the name of Rav that they're both Aser. However, Rav Chia Bar Avin Amar Shmuel L'noi Aser L'shamer Muter. He says clearly that Shmuel says that L'shamer is Muter. So even though it's excessive, nevertheless, since he's doing it L'shamer, it's Muter. Meisvei ask you a kasha Bar Leva Meisera Kshera. If the owner tied the Por Aduma with the halter, it's kshera. Now we know a paraduma, if there's any work done to it, if it's carrying and doing any type of work, if it's not for its own benefit, it would be awesome. It would passel it for a paraduma. Now we're saying over here the kash ba'alav masera kshera. Now the isal kedaitach masoi, who if you would hold that it's considered a masoi, asher loy ala ol amarachmana, therefore it would be aser because it's an om. So therefore you see that even though it's a with hemaisera, even though it's carrying it, it's still considered for its benefit. So therefore you see that it's not considered to be an om. Amrabaya b'malicha me'ir le'ir. No, that's not, you cannot prove from that it's not considered an ol, because perhaps that case is talking specifically where he's transporting the paraduma from one city to another city. Now, when he's going on those long distances, then it would be necessary. Then it is considered a benefit, it is considered necessary. But otherwise, perhaps it's not. Rav Amar, Shani Para, Damea Yikorim. Rava says another teretz. No, that you cannot prove it over there. Because really, I'll tell you that normally for a regular para, it's considered, you say also, it's considered excessive. And it would not be mutter, Shabbos would not be mutter, but a para duma is so expensive that for there, you take extra precautions. So there, it would be considered necessary. Ravina Amar b'mayredus, he said it's talking by a particular para that's rebellious. For a rebellious para, it would be necessary, but otherwise it wouldn't be considered necessary. Hasus b'shir. It says that the horse can go out with a collar. My yotzim and my nimshach. So it says that kol balei shir. It says kol balei shir yotzim b'shir v'nimshachim b'shir. What does it mean to say with that? Omar Rav Huna oy yotzim kruchin oy nimshachim. What he meant to say is that it either can go out kruchin, it can either go out whether it's wrapped around, or it can go out where it's nimshachim, that has a rope that's attached to it. It has the collar. The collar is either wrapped around, or it has the rein. It has a rope which you can pull it with. But Shmuel said no, only if it has the rope where you can pull it, but otherwise you can't, because if it's just wrapped around, then it's considered lanoi, and lanoi is also. If it's just to adorn the animal, it's also. So if it's nimshachim, where it's hanging down, the rope is hanging down, you can pull it, it's used for protection of the animal, then it's mutter. But if it's a collar that's just wrapped around its neck, that's only for lanoi, and noi is also. The difficulty that the Rishonim deal with over here is that it comes out that Rav Huna is saying, "Oh, yotzim kruchim oy nimshachim," which would seem to imply that he's saying that even if it's only kruchim and it does not have the rope that's hanging down, so it would seem to be that it's only lanoi, and he still says it's mutter. Well, we just learned previously that it seemed to be that everyone held that lanoi would be also. If it's only lanoi, it would be also. So how is it that Rav Huna is saying, "Oh, yotzim kruchim oy nimshachim"? So keeping this in mind, let's see a little weiter. The Gemara says, "Masnisa Tana." We learned in a brayso, "Yotzim kruchim limoshech," that it says "Yotzim kruchim limoshech," which means that it can be used to pull the animal, and it can be used for shmira. So it seems to be clear from the brayso that lanoi is awesome. So it seems to be that we have two problems with understanding Rav Huna, because number one is, how can you be saying that lanoi is mutter? And it seemed to be the consensus is clearly that everyone held that lanoi is also. Rav and Shmuel both held lanoi if it's simply for noil to adorn the animal, it's also. And secondly, it seems to be clear from the brayso. The brayso seems to be saying beferish that it's yotzim kruchim limoshech, not the way Rav Huna says oy yotzim kruchim oy nimshachim. So the way Taisus understands it is, it's machlokes Rav and Shmuel in a case where it's kruchim and it's loose. Is that considered lanoi or not considered lanoi? Meaning, the way Taisus is understanding it, Rav Huna would agree. Everyone agrees that if it's not, no string is hanging down and the collar is tight, which it cannot be used to pull the animal or restrain the animal, if it's only for noi, everyone agreed that it was also. Rav Huna also would agree that it's also. The machlokes is where the collar is loose. So if the collar is loose, then the animal is running away. The owner could put his hand between the neck and the collar and restrain the animal. It could be used that way. Not easily and not normally, but it could be used that way. And Rav Huna is saying, in such a case, it's also considered a shmira. It's also considered a shmira, and you can therefore go out with it. Shmuel says no. That is considered, it's considered lanoi. We don't consider that for shmira, for the tirusa. It's considered noi, the only mutter if the string is hanging down, then it's considered, then it's a shmira, otherwise it's awesome. He said he saw the calves of Rav Huna that went out with the halter kruchim wrapped around the neck on Shabbos. That is according to his shita. Ki also Rav Dimi Amar Rav Chanina Muloyish El Beis Rebbe, the mules of Beis Rebbe Yotzes Bavsareim b'Shabbos. They went out with the halter with the officer on Shabbos. He boilu. They have a shayla kruchim onim shachim. Was it kruchim? Was it wrapped around, or was it the rein was hanging? The string was hanging down? So Ki also Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Amar Rav Chanina Muloyish El Beis Rebbe Yotzes Bavsareim kruchim b'Shabbos. They were wrapped around. They were kruchim b'Shabbos. Amru Rabbanan Kami the Ravasi Had Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Leitzricha. He says it's not necessary to tell this over, to tell us this edus over here, because with Rav Dimi Nafke, We can learn it out from Rav Dimi, that he said that the Meloshel Beis Rabbi Yosim Avserim b'Shabbos, that they go out with their Avser. Now, in Rav Dimi's testimony, when he said it, he didn't say it was kruch. But the Gemara is saying now at this point that it's not necessary to tell us this latter statement, that Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda's statement. It's not necessary to tell us that they were kruchin. Why? Because these al kedai Rav Dim nimshachim kamar. If it's that they're only nimshachim, that the rope is hanging down, Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel nafka, we would know that anyway. We would know that from the earlier testimony that Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel said, what we just learned before. Because the Amar Rav Yehuda Bar Amar Shmuel Machlifin Hoylifnei Rabbi Shalzu Bezu Mahu, they switch the cases with the Gamal and with the Naka, the Gamal with the Chaitim and the Naka with the Afsar, and Amar Lefanav Shmuel Rav Yisik Amar Abba, this is what Rav Yisik, his father, said, Arba Behemus Yitzis Ba'afsar Asus Va'per Va'gamul Va'chamor. So it says they can go out with an afsar. So we already know that it can go out, that the donkey can go out with an afsar. So the statement of Rav Dimi must have been to tell me something additional to that. It must have been something more, telling me something additional, that they can go with the afsar, even if it's only kruchin and not nimshachim. So why do I need this latter statement of Rav Yehuda, of Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda? So Amar Lahu Ravasi Israel. No, it's necessary, and we do need this latter statement. The Rav Yehuda Nafka, because even if it's only from Rav Yehuda Havamina Amar Lafanav like Kiblamine. I might have thought that this was said in front of Rebbe, but Rebbe didn't accept it. Kamashmla the Rav Dimi. So that's why I need Rav Dimi's statement to say that Muloishal is base Rebbe did go out with Avsareim, and he accepted that testimony of Rav Yaisi, or Shmuel Rav Yaisi, in the name of his father, and he accepted it. Now, v'imid Rav Dimi, and if I only had the statement of Rav Dimi, havamina hanim milim nimshachim, I would have thought, yes, they went out, but only if it's nimshachim, only if it's used and the rope is hanging down. And if it's only wrapped around, I might have thought, loy, kemashlan, the Shmuel Bar Yehuda, that even if they're kruchin, and it still is mutter, even if it's only kruchin. So the Mishnah said that the Baalei Shir, the animals that have collars, that normally go out with collars, if the collar became tomei, you can sprinkle the waters of the Poraduma on the collar, and while the animal's wearing it, and you can be toivel it while the animal's wearing it. So, you mean to say that these collars are mekabel tuma, that they're kalim that can be mekabel tuma? A ring that a person wears is tomei. That's jewelry. Now, to be mekabel tuma, it has to be a keli. Normally, it's a vessel that has use, that there's something that you use it for. A ring that a person wears as jewelry is not functional. It's used for an adornment. Nevertheless, we learn out, Pasuk says by Midjan, that the camels that were tomei, so these types of rings, jewelry, if it's used for people, that's mekabel tuma. However, if tabas behim of a kalim, but rings that are used for animals or to kalim, that, like Rashi says, like you use for a door, a ring for a door, etc., which are called tabois, tahiras. They're tahiras. So why is this collar be mekabel tuma to begin with? Amar Rav Yitzchak, he says, "Beboim minoi adam l'noi behema." What we're talking about is that it was used as a collar for a person, and it became tomei while it was used for a person. Then he transferred it to the animal. He used it for the animal, but it was mekabel tuma previously where it was used for a person. So it seems to be machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. Rashi says it has to be that it was mekabel tuma while it was used for a person, because if he redesignated it for an animal, at that point in time, it would not be mekabel tuma anymore. So it was mekabel tuma while it was used for a person. Tosfos says if something was a kli that can be mekabel tuma, if it was used for a person and it's able to be mekabel tuma, it doesn't become ois kli. It doesn't lose that designation unless you do a maisa. You need a maisa to change it. just with a machshava alone, it will not lose that designation. Al kol panim, this is different over here because we're talking in the case where the ring was used for a person. Rav Yosef Amar Hoil v'adam moishech b'mesa behema. He says no, it's not necessary, even if it was originally used for the behema, but since it has a function for a person, it's used by the person to pull the animal, restrain the animal, then it's considered a kli that's for an autumn as well. If you have a stick that's used for an animal, it's made out of metal, mikabel tuma. It's mikabel tuma, even though it's being used for an animal, to go to an animal. Matam, what's the reason? Hoil of autumn roidabehem, because a person uses it to hit the animal, to guide the animal with it, so it's used for a person. It has a function for an autumn. It has a function for an autumn. It's considered a kli autumn, and it's mekabel tuma.